Hi, everyone. It's Wednesday now. I got my days straight. It's region weather meteorologist Matt Wentz. Want to bring you an update on the system that we've been tracking over the last couple days. It's now moving out of Southern California. It's heading through the Four Corners region out into Texas tonight. There's severe weather tonight down towards our south. And by south, I mean like Oklahoma. That is not really related to this system, but tomorrow there's going to be a big severe weather event with tornadoes. In my mind, this is going to be the biggest one of the season so far. And again, this is going to be all south of us, but this is kind of leading into what kind of system we've got coming our way. And that is going to bring the potential for some heavy accumulating snow in spots and rain for others. The models have done a little bit of changing tonight. And if you're a snow lover, I think you're going to want to stay tuned to this forecast. So we'll take you through it here. We're going to run our intro video. We'll let some people join here on Facebook Live and on our YouTube channel. And then we'll get to the forecast here right after this on our special evening edition here on this Wednesday of Region Weather Live. And welcome in, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. I hope your week's going well. We're halfway through the week. Boy, today was beautiful with some of the spring-like temperatures we had. We did get some sunshine in with those high clouds, but things are cooling down here tonight, and that trend will continue to kind of set the stage for this next system as it moves in over the next couple days. Briefly, I just want to say hi to our early birds that are on here. Mary, hello. Justin, hi to you. Rob, are we taking work off on Friday? Rob, there's a chance, my man. We'll talk about it here. Sarah, hi, thanks for being with us. Stacy, thanks for joining us on our YouTube channel. And guys, our YouTube channel, I mean, I don't really pay attention much to it, right? Everything kind of streams on both our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. We're up to 511 followers. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but last time I checked, it was like 42. So I appreciate all those of you that are tuning in on YouTube. Once we hit 1,000, we're able to stream and we can do kind of our own thing on the YouTube channel, which is great. So I really appreciate that. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Nicole. Penny's with us. Anne's with us. Lori, Lance. Hi, Lance. Anne's with us. Hi from Cedar Lake Charity. Melanie's with us. I told my hubby you're never wrong. Do not say stuff like that, Melanie, out ahead of a winter storm. All right. I appreciate that, though. And hello, Brandy. Hello. And Eric says, Matt, be nice. I got to drive to the upper part of Michigan on Saturday. Okay. We'll see what we can do here. Guys, you may have noticed we have a new sponsor on this side of the screen. It's like the green screen. Everything's backwards here. And I want to thank all of our sponsors. This is bonus coverage for them. So, we're not going to dive in. Our wonderful sponsors here in the region. But Public Service Adjusting LLC, if you haven't heard of them, follow them on Facebook. They're based out of Portage, Indiana. Basically, if you have an insurance claim and you feel like you're not getting enough for it, or if they're shorting you, which is like every insurance claim, they come in and do dirty work for you to get you the money you deserve for stuff, which is awesome. And they're super nice group of local folks out there. If you have any other type of insurance claims like fire or water damage, and you feel like you're being underpaid, visit their website. It's publicserviceadjusting.com, or feel free to give them a call. Also want to give a shout out to our newest sponsor as well. On top of that, St. Jude House. They're doing wonderful work in Northwest Indiana. They've served over 15,000 clients and children since they were founded, since they've opened their doors, and research shows that only 5% of those who need the help are getting help. So the whole thing I need you to do with St. Jude House is get the word out. They've got a mobile advocacy program, and that's not a crisis response. That's, before it's too late. So if you know anyone that's dealing with any kind of domestic violence whatsoever, St. Jude House has been doing wonderful, wonderful, loving work in Northwest Indiana and saving lives, literally. So call the 24-hour crisis line. It's 1-800-254-1286 if you need an emergency shelter or you'd like to connect with a community advocate. So we want to give a shout out to them. All right, let's jump into the models here, guys, because this has changed. What I want to show you first is kind of the setup for this. We'll briefly go through this. We'll dive into the models quickly here. So here's our area of low pressure now. It's coming out of areas of Southern California. Real good swirl with this. It's caused lots of heavy snow and mountain snow and heavy rain inland out there at San Diego, getting rain again. This is diving south. This area of energy you see out ahead of it, this is the subtropical jet. So that's got the moisture to it. There's a real strong jet stream right here where you see my mouse cursor that's punching into the system. And that is what's going to eventually head out into the plains. and it's going to create some severe weather tomorrow on top of what they're getting tonight. And I think there's a real good threat of tornadoes tomorrow down in Texas initially, and then eventually Oklahoma and areas of Arkansas, eventually getting into Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama as we go forward. So big severe event for them over the next 24 to 48 hours. Storm Prediction Center says, severe weather staying south of us. This is tonight. They've got an enhanced risk, already some severe weather ongoing, Arkansas and Mississippi. That's with the subtropical jet that's not really with this system yet. But you look at tomorrow, and we're talking moderate risk already. I wouldn't be surprised if this got issued or upgraded to a high risk, which is very rare. We'll see what happens with that. But a tornado chance is 15% chance of a tornado within 50 miles of those spots there. Wind damage almost a guarantee, and lots of hail as well. Good news is that'll stay south of us, all right? So the severe weather threat is not coming in our neck of the woods with this system, okay? What we are going to see is some wind. We're going to see quite a bit of moisture come in here. And notice I'm saying moisture tonight versus rain because the models have, they had that low just northwest of us that we were saying, hey, a little shift in this, and things have shifted, my friends. In fact, they've shifted twice today. Initially, earlier today, the models took a lot of the snow chances away from even Chicago. There was one model that was saying 14 inches in Chicago, nothing for us. This is earlier today. And then another model said nothing for any of us as the system developed over Michigan. So this is really a wacky system in terms of the fact that we're not getting good model consensus yet, and we're only a couple days out. This is Friday we're talking about. So kind of unusual in terms of that. I want to start with the Canadian model, okay? In the Canadian model, you can see as we go through time, I'm just going to zip this through. Here comes our system. This is early Friday morning. Has some rain around here, a little bit of snow, eastern areas, no snow in Chicago, and then it heads on out. That was an easy one, right? This is going to be nothing. That's the only one that doesn't show much of anything, okay? Let's go to the second favorite in my mind, the GFS. Let's see what this says. This is the latest 18Z, so this just came out about an hour ago. This brings the low pressure up. And notice the track of the low now. It's south and east of us. How about that? Instead of right over us, where we have snow just off towards the north and we're all rain, it's taken that shift or they've taken that track of that low a little bit further southeast. So that brings snow into play for Northwest Indiana. And you notice how it starts kind of as a rain-snow mix initially Friday, and then we go over to all snow on Friday night into Saturday morning. Any trips to Michigan look a little snowy at this point, all right? Not a blockbuster snowstorm, and the reason why is because it's going to be pretty fast-moving. It's not going to linger. A lot of storms will kind of linger, or they'll do kind of where the low pressure comes up and it sits while it spins, and then it pulls on out. This one's going to move right through, but there's some heavy rain on the GFS. Let's go to the Euro, which is my favorite model. This is the one I tend to trust the most. And let's just take a look. All right. Here comes our low. All right. There's some snow breaking out Friday early. Well, we'll go mid-morning. And it never changes over to rain on the Euro. In fact, we get this really strong, what's called frontogenetic band. I know that's a big word, but basically you get this maximum aerial lift in big low pressures like this on the backside of the low, and you can really wring out some snow in a hurry. The Euro is wringing out this frontogenetic band right over every single Northwest Indiana county right now, and that does include Chicago. That, on top of a strong northeast wind, would likely bring some lake-enhanced snow into that frontogenetic band, all right? Now, forecasting exactly where that goes to a T is really hard to do, all right? So keep that in mind. Just because the Euro says it right now, this can still change tomorrow. But what we've seen on the models is that everything is kind of shifted a little bit further south and east. And now we're playing with the potential of us being in that bullseye in terms of snow around here. And the Euro tends to be the one that's ramping up the most snow with that heavy band setting up and then lake enhancement on top of that. This would be a decent snow. And again, I don't say that, here at Region Weather, we don't like to hype things at all. If it's not a big deal, I'll tell you it's not a big deal. And this looks like kind of a big deal in terms of the Euro. So I want to look at more stuff, okay? And I'll show you more things as well. Eventually, this pulls on out. Leftover snow early Saturday, we're done, right? So we're cleaning up Saturday as we go through time. Let's quickly look at, I'm going to go to high-res models after this. So these are the global models. Their resolution's not quite as high. So we're seeing it still looks kind of blobby. Compared to back in the day, it's not at all. When I first started forecasting, we had pixels, and if the green pixel was on the state of Indiana, we called for rain. and I've only been doing this for 15 years, so that's not that long ago. But anyway, I'm going to go to higher res stuff here in a second. But briefly, I want to look at some of these snowfall totals. I want to show you what some of these models are putting out. Okay, so let's quickly go to Canadian model real quick. And again, just because we like a model, let's say you like the Canadian because you don't like snow, we can't favor models based on what we like. Or if you really want snow, we can't favor the Euro and say, yes, that's going to happen, right? We still have to keep an open mind that we went from not a lot of snow yesterday, if any, to perhaps some decent amounts today. Okay, we still have to favor that it's going to change. Tomorrow morning's a new model run. Tomorrow night, we should have a pretty good idea how this system's going to behave. And we'll see if there's consistency. So again, this is the Canadian model. And that's already going through next week. So we're not even going to look at that. Canadian model has basically nothing on us, which we covered. The GFS has a little bit more. So GFS has a good 3 to 6 inch across Northwest Indiana. And that would be a very heavy wet snow. But look at the Euro, my friends. Look at this. This is cranking snow wherever that band sets up, that frontogenetic band. It's not lake effect. It has to do with the system itself. It's cranking out up to a foot of snow, even some 15 and 16 inch totals in Berrien County and Southwest Lower Michigan. So very impressive on that, right? And you notice on this map how little of an imprint the system's going to have. What is this, a 150, maybe a 200 mile, if even that, I would say maybe 100 to 150 mile stretch of snow. If you get outside of that, there's nothing with this. There's rain and wind. But in terms of that snow footprint, the fact that it lines up right over Northwest Indiana tonight, what a blessing, right, for those snow lovers out there. All right, so I want to jump out of this. Let's go into high res because there's going to be a couple other things that we're going to need to prepare for that are still locked solid in that forecast for the storm. One of them is wind, all right? It's going to get windy with this. We're going to have gusts over 40 at times. This system is going to be a wind producer. It's going to be a wind producer initially with the southeast wind as it comes in. When the low comes over us, wind will likely back off for a little bit, kind of like the eye of a hurricane. And then on the backside, we'll get gusty winds as well. So wind is a guarantee with this. That starts Thursday night, and then Friday it'll ramp up. Saturday it'll start to wind down. Okay, so wind is one component. Moisture is another one. Let's say we do end up with snow with this. It's going to be very heavy, wet snow. All right. It's going to be hard to push around. This time of year, we get the most moisture in storms. Remember, because we're warmest down to the south and that warm air holds a lot of moisture. So we're going to have very heavy, wet snow with this if we do get snow. Let's say the snow heads north tomorrow on the modeling. We're still dealing with rain, and it'll be heavy rain. And so we could have some flooding issues because our ground is saturated after the last couple storm systems. So the two components that are guarantees right now are the wind. It's going to be windy around here, and the moisture. There's going to be some kind of heavy precip falling with the system that could lead to some localized flooding. The snow, obviously, most of that's stored in the snow. It has to wait till it melts. So that would be the better of the two scenarios in terms of flooding. So let's go through the modeling here. This is high res now. So as a meteorologist, we look at the global models for trends, right? We've been looking at the global models to tell us, hey, we might have a storm that's coming. And this was 10 days ago. We said, hey, there might be a storm coming next Thursday, Friday. Mark it on your calendars. As we got into this week, we're still looking at global models. Remember, not as high res. We're still looking at those to say, okay, where's that storm going to go and what's the intensity going to be? Now that we're 2 days out, we can start to look at high-res models, which give more details on that storm, and they can really help a meteorologist fine-tune exactly where that track's going to go and exactly what the impacts are going to be on a very high-res scale, right? That's why we call them high-res models. So now that we're getting into high-res territory, this gives us a better idea and a better understanding of if everything is going to come into consensus or not. So the first one I want to look at is the NAM Nest. All right, this is just one model I happen to look at. All these black lines you see are isobars. When they're tightly packed like that, that means it's very windy. All right, and you look at the wind energy with this. This is a very potent low. Remember, down to the south of my mouse cursor here, they're going to have a severe weather outbreak. So lots of moisture coming out of the Gulf, severe storms, tornadoes, etc. All that moisture gets thrown north. We've got cold air in place off towards the north. So as all that Gulf moisture comes north, obviously it turns to snow. A little bit of icing in between. I don't see that being an issue for us. I think it's going to be either rain or snow for us locally. But the NAM Nest, the high res, notice what it does. It brings the rain in here Friday, and the high res model keeps us all rain. This is why we have to kind of tongue in cheek look at the Euro and say, okay, it's there, and we see the heavy snow, but it's not a guarantee. And then you can see how we turn over to some snow on the back side of this. But in terms, as far as the NamNest is concerned, everything goes up from Chicago north. And this is the latest run of it as well. All right. So there's still a chance we get nothing out of this. And I know that's not helpful, but that's why I always check the National Weather Service. I never use their forecast, but I treat them like a model because it's a bunch of meteorologists trying to forecast, right? These models are a bunch of algorithms going in trying to forecast. So I checked the National Weather Service just to see what they were saying, and they're still going rain, snow. Simple as that, right? Because it's too early to call on this. However, my favorite high-res model is the HRRR, the HRRR. You've probably heard of that. Look what it's doing. It's bringing that snow right through Northwest Indiana. So my two favorite models, the Euro and the HRRR, which I lean on heavily during most events, both of those are leaning towards a real good heavy wet snow across the region. Here's how it kind of evolves. It agrees on what the Euro is saying, and that we get rain that starts to move in here Friday morning. It quickly turns to this heavy wet snow, big old snowflakes during the daytime on Friday. And then by Friday afternoon, we're really in it. This would be that deformation band we're talking about, that frontogenetic band, big word, I know. And then you notice how that heavy snow sticks around Friday evening, Friday night, and a Saturday. This right here is lake enhanced snow, where we already have snow falling with the system. Wind comes across the lake, picks up more moisture, and you get heavy snow, kind of like lake effect, but you are still tapping into system snow. And that would really, add to our totals. So that's what we've got right now. I'll answer your questions here in a second. I just want to quickly take you through the winds. These are what the wind gusts are looking like. Again, this is front of the system on the leading edge as everything's moving in. We're talking 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts. And then you can see some gusts there on the backside where we're talking 40 plus. So briefly windy with this, but wind nonetheless. There will be 50 mile per hour winds with this, probably downstate, depends on where that low goes. But on that front side is where we're going to see the strong winds. Okay. I think that's all I've got for you. We don't need to cover severe weather. I'll kind of let this loop so you guys can kind of see how the storm may or may not evolve. So what we know right now, again, it's going to be windy. We're going to have lots of precip. I still think it's too early to call in terms of whether this thing ends up rain or snow. I agree with the Weather Service on that. Tomorrow morning's model run is going to give us more guidance in terms of, okay, do things agree with this solution or the other solution? And eventually what's going to happen is all the models are going to eventually agree. And that could be, tomorrow afternoon. I would imagine they will by then because we'll be a day out at that point. But I think by tomorrow morning, we should have pretty good consensus as well. Now, remember that the 12Z model run, so the model run that comes out, let's say roughly 3 o'clock Central Time in the afternoon is the most accurate. That's got all the new information coming in. The models from here on out, in terms of the global models, are taking whatever information's in there now and they're kind of tweaking it. So if the information in there now is not as accurate as it should be with the path of that low, then our 0Z, our tomorrow morning's run, is still going to have that same inaccuracy. Does that make sense? So tomorrow afternoon, we should have a really good idea with fresh model data coming in of exactly where the path of the slow goes. I don't think I've seen a time where we've been a day out and we don't quite understand the track. But the way this February went, especially with last night's thunderstorms, with that warm front going through, who knows where we're going to be tomorrow. Okay. All right. So let's answer your questions and then we'll get you on your way tonight. Again, I appreciate you joining us. If you're new to Region Weather, give us a like and a follow on YouTube if you can, or on Facebook. We're on this thing. We've been on it for the last 10 days, but obviously this track shift makes us a little bit more on it with some snow coming, right? The chance has always been there for sure. Okay, and I see some comments there. Let's see. Erica asks, she says, my middle school son would like to know the likelihood of a snow day. Erica, that is still just up in the air as everything else. But the chance is there. If this track, Erica, stays right, and you tell your son this, if the track stays right where it is right now in most of the modeling, this would be a snow day on Friday. Okay, do your homework just in case. But there you go. Barbara, Indy looks to be all rain from this. I'll tell you, the track is just north of you. This model you're seeing right here is the furthest south track in all the modeling right now. So that brings maybe a little icing into Indy initially, but mainly rain out of this. And then it would turn a little icy and snowy on the backside as colder air comes in. But not a big event for you outside of the rain and the wind. Erica also says, National Weather Service not making any decisions yet. Is that why they're entering watches yet? Yes, absolutely. That's exactly why there's no watches yet, because it's just too early to call. They can't issue a winter storm watch and then retract it the next day. I mean, they can, but it goes against, they have an accuracy score that they have to live up to with the U.S. government. And that's why they are real careful about issuing tornado warnings with watches, all that stuff. Okay. Let's see. What else we got? Tom asked a good question. Power lines down with the wind. Tom, if we get that heavy wet snow, yes. If we don't, I don't see too big of a deal. I think it'll be very similar to the last couple storms we've had in terms of the wind with this. But that snow is going to be heavy. We're not expecting a lot of ice from this. But if we do get into that snow, especially this main axis of snow that the models are showing, I mean, we're talking, 6 to 12 inches of heavy wet snow, and March snow tends to have some real weight to it because it has some real moisture to it. Brent, great question on that. Brent says, yes, possible snow timing, I think you're asking for, Brent. In terms of the timing of this would be a Friday morning. I would say anytime morning rush hour and beyond. Again, timing could change on that. It slowed down a little bit today, but it may speed up by a couple hours tomorrow. So I would say Friday morning, but especially by midday and afternoon, we'll definitely be getting into it by then. So latest arrival would be probably midday, early afternoon. Earliest arrival would be Friday morning. And then it would go all day Friday. It would last probably through Friday night into Saturday. I don't want to get too talk heavy on the snow part of things because everyone's going to get their hopes up. The model's going to shift tomorrow. We're all rain, and then we're all disappointed, right? Those that like snow. I know some of us are just completely ready for spring. So remember, things can still change. Okay. Jamie, no ice? No, I don't see a lot of ice with this. The atmosphere is not structured with this locally to produce freezing rain and sleet, or a lot of it. We may have a little bit mixed in, but it doesn't look to be a big ice storm. Joshua says, is there a chance that the storm doesn't get the cold air it needs or make the cold air it needs to produce snow? Joshua, there's not with this, and here's why. We already have the cold air up towards Minnesota and Dakotas. As this low further develops and gets stronger, it's going to take that and pull it down further. So the cold air will be here. We may initially be 35, 36 degrees Friday morning. We're going to have some dry air coming from the north as well. So you may look at the thermometer and say, we're supposed to get snow today. It's 36 degrees outside. There's no way. It's going to be all rain. What's going to happen from here on up? We're going to have very dry air in place initially. So that precip from the south is going to move in, and it's going to start falling. That snow will start falling in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and it'll start to dry up, and it won't even reach the ground initially because all this air up above us has to saturate, right? It's super dry, so nothing's going to reach the ground, kind of like the desert. As that moisture falls and evaporates, evaporation's a cooling process, right? That's why we sweat in the summertime. You have beads of sweat that form on your skin, and it evaporates. When things evaporate, it cools down. It's a cooling process scientifically. So when you have rain or snow evaporating in air, it cools it down. And so what we'll see, that's called evaporative cooling. So what we'll see initially is maybe some rain moving in on radar, but as that rain doesn't hit us but falls into our dry air, it'll likely cool the temperature. So we may start as 36. We may go down to 35, 34 as the rain's coming in on radar, and then we'll be 33, or so. I hope that makes sense. I think I explained it well, but sometimes I think I do and we don't. So there's that. Maxwell, that's really interesting. Maxwell always asks great questions. I appreciate your great questions. If these models are right in terms of this heavy snow, could they issue a blizzard warning? That's a tough one. Maxwell, I think they could. I really do. And the reason why, for blizzard criteria, you need low visibility and strong winds for 3 hours or more. And I think we would have that. I really do. The visibility is the one that's kind of in question because when you get a real powdery snow, like in January, that's easy to blow around and create real bad visibility. But I think we could have heaviest snowfall rates enough if this were to verify. Not saying this is going to happen, but if this were to verify, I could see that. I really could. And it could just be, for our lakeshore counties as that moves in. Real interesting on that. Great question, though. Jamie, yeah, we're looking at, again, Friday morning on this, okay? And there's no guarantee it's all snow right now, but the models are really showing that. Joshua, thank you. I appreciate that. I hope that helped. I know you ask you ask one question and I go on for 10 minutes. So there's that. Sherry, I fooled Sherry, everybody. She says, man, it sounds like you actually know a thing or two about meteorology. I appreciate that, Sherry. I try my best. But I guess that's it, guys. I don't see any other questions coming in. So, naturally, we're going to have another update tomorrow to talk about this. We should have a pretty good idea. So join us either on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page here. And don't forget, we're on the radio network around Northwest Indiana as well. So we'll have the forecast tomorrow morning on your drive to work, which is wonderful. So there's that. Okay. All right, guys, have a wonderful evening. Get some sleep. Again, quiet weather tomorrow. What did I have us at? We'll have a mix of clouds and sun. Well, more clouds tomorrow, but it's not going to be a bad day. It is going to be cooler tomorrow. So keep that in mind as you're out and about. Okay. All right. Have a good night, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.